What if understanding people, really understanding their motivations, desires, and hidden drives, gave you the power to connect, persuade, and lead like few others? In The Laws of Human Nature, Robert Greene offers a masterclass in decoding human behavior. Drawing from history, psychology, and powerful stories of rulers, artists, and thinkers, Greene uncovers timeless principles that shape how we think, feel, and act, even when we're not aware of them. This book isn't about manipulation for selfish gain. It's about awareness. By recognizing patterns like envy, groupthink, emotional hot zones, and moral high grounds, you can break free from unconscious influences, spot the motives of others, and act with wisdom and agency. In this video from Detailed Book Summaries, we'll unpack Greene's most powerful laws, from mastering your emotions and reading people's real intentions, to transforming your relationships and boosting your influence. You'll walk away with practical insights on how to apply these laws to practically every interaction, whether you're negotiating, leading, creating, or building trust. If you're ready to sharpen your social awareness, protect yourself from manipulation, and elevate your impact, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our deep dive summaries. Chapter 1, The Law of Irrationality. Master your emotional self. You think you're rational. You believe your thoughts are your own, driven by logic, informed by facts. But here's the uncomfortable truth. You're being driven, not by logic, not by reason, but by emotion, and most of the time you don't even know it. Every choice you make, every person you trust or avoid, every belief you cling to, buried underneath those decisions are impulses, reactions, deep emotional currents. The law of irrationality says one thing loud and clear: you are not as rational as you believe. This is how Robert Greene opens the book, with a mirror we don't want to look into. He tells us, if you want power, peace, control, or success in this world, you don't need more intelligence. You need emotional clarity. You need to become a master of your emotional self, or someone else will master it for you. Greene takes us back to Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor of Rome, who wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." But what Marcus realized thousands of years ago, neuroscience now confirms: we feel first, think second. Emotions fire before logic kicks in. Let's break this down. You walk into a room and instantly dislike someone. No reason, just a gut feeling. Then your mind goes to work justifying that feeling. He's arrogant. She seems fake. I can't trust them. But it wasn't logic. It was your emotional radar going off. And if you don't pause and analyze where that came from, fear, insecurity, past trauma, you'll move through life chasing shadows, making emotional decisions dressed up as logic. Now here's the trap Greene warns about. The more intelligent and educated you are, the more you believe you're immune to irrationality. But in reality, that just makes you more vulnerable. You become good at rationalizing your emotional reactions, making lies sound like truths. So what do? Greene says we must become students of human emotion, starting with ourselves. You must observe your emotional patterns. When do you get defensive? What kind of people trigger envy in you? When do you feel insecure, and how do you compensate for it? This isn't about judgment. It's about mapping the terrain of your mind so no one else can manipulate it. He introduces the story of Howard Hughes, a genius inventor, billionaire, and one of the most powerful men of the 20th century. But Hughes was a prisoner of his emotions. Paranoia, perfectionism, fear of germs. Instead of controlling them, he buried them. And over time they took over his entire life. He locked himself in a dark room, naked, addicted, and terrified of the world. That's where emotional ignorance leads. Not always in such dramatic ways, but in quiet ones. Broken relationships, missed opportunities, endless sabotage. You become your own worst enemy, and you don't even see it happening. Greene gives you tools, not just theory. One of the most important is detachment. When something provokes you, a comment, a rejection, a moment of fear, you don't react immediately. You observe. You pause. You create distance between stimulus and response. That space is your power. In that space, you stop being controlled and you start choosing. Another powerful tool is rewriting the story. Instead of being stuck in narratives like, "I always get rejected," or "people are out to get me," you step back and ask, what emotion is behind this belief? Is it fear? Shame? Past pain? Then you replace it. You begin to rewire how you interpret the world. This chapter is a wake-up call. It says, before you can influence others, before you can lead or love or create lasting change, you must first clean your own lens. See your irrationality. Study it. Own it. Because if you don't, someone else will. Greene closes the chapter with this warning. We live in the age of emotional warfare. Social media, advertising, politics, they don't appeal to logic. They weaponize emotion, outrage, envy, tribalism. And if you don't understand how these forces operate within you, you're just another pawn in someone else's strategy. So here's your task. Become the calmest person in the room. The one who doesn't flinch. The one who sees clearly, while others are clouded by emotion. That's power. That's clarity. That's the beginning of mastering human nature. Chapter 2. The Law of Narcissism. Transform self-love into empathy. Look around. Everyone is performing. Everyone wants to be seen. Underneath the filters, the resumes, the titles, and the tweets, what we're really dealing with is a world full of people screaming the same thing. Validate me. That's narcissism. And Robert Greene wastes no time breaking it down. Not as a slur. Not as some rare diagnosis, but as a fact of human nature. We're all narcissists. The only difference is where we land on the spectrum. You want to know what drives most people? Look past their words. Look past their logic. Peel back the layers and what you'll find is a desperate attempt to protect their self-image. And when people feel unseen, dismissed, or disrespected, even slightly, they'll explode, withdraw, gossip, sabotage, or manipulate. Not because they're evil, but because they're starving for attention. Greene calls this the narcissistic wound, the moment in childhood when we felt insignificant or overlooked. And we've been compensating ever since. So what do most people do? They become deep narcissists. They overcorrect. They build an identity based on being admired. But it's fragile. It cracks under pressure. And the more they're challenged, the more they lash out. Think of the coworker who can't handle feedback, the boss who surrounds himself with yes men, the friend who vanishes the moment they're not the center of attention. Classic signs. But here's where Greene flips the script. The goal isn't to shame people for being narcissists. It's to evolve. He introduces the idea of the integrated human, someone who still has a strong sense of self, but who also sees others clearly. Someone who isn't trapped in the echo chamber of their own thoughts, but who steps outside, watches, listens. In short, someone with empathy. Not the sappy, performative kind, but real empathy, the kind that makes you powerful. The kind that allows you to read the room, decode intentions, disarm resistance, and influence people deeply. That's the superpower Greene wants you to develop. And here's how you begin. Shift your focus. When you enter a conversation, stop thinking, how do I come across? And instead ask, what is this person actually feeling? Study people. Not just their words, but their body language. The tone behind the tone. The twitch in their eye when their ego gets touched. The silence before they say, I'm fine. Because once you get out of your own head and start entering theirs, the world changes. Opportunities open. Tension dissolves. Power shifts. Why? Because people crave to be seen. And the one who sees them most clearly, that's the one they'll follow, trust, and confide in. Greene gives us examples. He talks about Abraham Lincoln not just as a brilliant leader but as a master empath. Lincoln was constantly surrounded by rivals, critics, and egos. But instead of reacting, he observed. Instead of defending, he disarmed. He took the time to understand the internal dramas people were carrying. And that understanding gave him leverage because people felt heard around him even if he disagreed. Empathy gave him power. Greene also warns us to beware of the deep narcissist, the charming, charismatic figure who pulls you in, flatters you, then slowly drains you dry. These people can't see beyond their own reflection. They take, demand, and manipulate. But they're easy to spot once you train your eyes to look past the surface. So how do you move from narcissism to empathy? Greene offers a few clear practices. Dead the drama. Stop centering yourself in every story. It's not always about you. Shift from why is this happening to me to what's happening inside them. Observe without reacting. When someone irritates you, pause. Ask what wound they're protecting. Their behavior isn't random. It's scripted by insecurity. Detach from validation. If you need applause to function, you're vulnerable. Practice doing good work without the spotlight. That's emotional strength. This isn't soft psychology. This is survival. The most influential people aren't always the loudest. They're the ones who can see through the fog of ego, their own and everyone else's. That's the law of narcissism. It's not about eliminating ego. It's about mastering it, turning self-obsession into self-awareness, and self-awareness into strategy. Because the moment you start seeing the human being behind the mask, the fear behind the anger, the need behind the arrogance, you stop reacting, and you start directing. Chapter 3, The Law of Role-Playing. See through people's masks. Everyone is wearing a mask. Everyone. From the moment we wake up, we're performing, trying to appear stronger, smarter, kinder, more confident, more in control than we really are. You walk into a meeting and no one says what they're actually thinking. You go on a date, and both of you are selling a version of yourselves that's been tweaked and edited for approval. Welcome to human nature. And Greene's not judging that. He's exposing it. He's saying, if you want to be powerful in this world, stop falling for the show. Learn to read what's real. This chapter hits like a slap to the face. Because what it reveals is simple. Most of the people you deal with are not being honest. Not because they're evil or fake, but because they've been trained to survive by acting. The smiling coworker who wants your job. The friendly client who's hiding a grudge. The humble leader who quietly craves control. They've built their personas like armor. But behind that armor is where the truth lives. So what do? Greene says, develop X-ray vision. Train yourself to see the cracks in the mask, the slip-ups, the unconscious reveals. People may lie with words, but they betray themselves with their body language, micro-expressions, tone shifts, timing. It's not what they say. It's how they say it, and what they do when they think no one's watching. You want a real-world example? Let's talk about Queen Elizabeth I. One of the most powerful women in history. She ruled in a time when being a female monarch meant constant threats, from within and outside. So she crafted a role. The Virgin Queen. Calm, poised, always in control. Never married. She knew exactly what people expected and gave them a version of herself that was impossible to fully pin down. Her control over her image gave her unmatched power. She didn't react emotionally. She didn't overshare. She knew that the minute she dropped her mask, her enemies would pounce. That's the game. That's the level. Greene's message? If you're always judging people by what they present, you're playing checkers while they're playing chess. So, how do you start piercing the masks? Step 1. Master the art of observation. Next time you're in a conversation, stop talking so much. Watch. Pay attention to body language that doesn't match the words. Forced laughter. A smile that doesn't reach the eyes. A compliment followed by a flash of envy. You'll be shocked how much people reveal when you're actually paying attention. Step 2. Look for pattern breaks. When someone suddenly gets defensive, overly agreeable, or unusually quiet, that's not random. That's the mask slipping. When people shift too fast, laughing one second, cold the next, it's not mood swings. It's internal conflict leaking out. Read between the edits. Step 3. Test them. Ask subtle questions. Push their boundaries a little. See how they respond under pressure or challenge. The real personality lives under stress. That's when the mask cracks. But here's the twist Greene delivers. You're also wearing a mask. We all are. It's how we protect ourselves, how we get what we want, how we hide the messy parts we don't want the world to see. But the danger comes when you believe your own performance. When you get so good at playing a role, leader, nice guy, badass, whatever, that you forget who you actually are. Then you become blind to your own weaknesses. You lose touch with your gut. You become manipulatable because your identity is just a costume. Greene challenges you to confront that mask. Ask yourself, what part of me am I constantly hiding? What version of me am I trying to sell? And what happens if I take that mask off? Because here's the goal. Not to live mask-free, that's impossible. But to wear it consciously. To choose your roles strategically, not reactively. Be the actor, not the puppet. And once you get that down, you start seeing the world clearly. You stop getting played by charming manipulators and false promises. You start detecting danger early. You make smarter decisions about people, business, love, everything. Because when you can read the mask, you can read the person. And when you can read the person, you can move the room. This chapter isn't about paranoia. It's about power. And the power comes when you stop being blinded by performance and start seeing human nature as it really is. Chapter 4. The Law of Compulsive Behavior. Determine the strength of people's character. People say, trust your gut. But what if your gut's wrong? What if the charming new hire turns out to be a political backstabber? What if the confident partner you admired ends up emotionally reckless? What if the client who made bold promises suddenly ghosts you halfway through the deal? Robert Greene doesn't mince words here. You're not being misled by bad people. You're being misled by your failure to read their character. And he calls it what it is, an epidemic. A human blind spot. In a world obsessed with charisma, credentials, and social image, we forget one timeless truth. Character is fate. Not talent. Not charm. Character. And it doesn't matter how good someone looks on paper. If they're impulsive, if they crumble under pressure, if they need constant validation, they will burn you eventually. That's what this chapter is about. Learning to read what's beneath the surface. Because behavior is not random. It's compulsive. It's predictable. People repeat patterns. They reveal themselves. And if you're paying attention, they tell you exactly who they are. Greene uses the story of Howard Hughes, the billionaire entrepreneur, Hollywood mogul, and aviation legend, to drive this home. In the beginning, Hughes looked like a genius. Brilliant. Ambitious. Bold. But underneath that drive was a compulsive fear of germs, isolation, and control. And as time went on, the cracks became chasms. His brilliance turned into obsession. His empire decayed not because he lacked vision, but because his character was hollow at the core. Hughes didn't break. He simply followed his nature. That's the point. People don't snap or change out of nowhere. They default to what's always been in them. That fake humility you ignored at the start? It becomes arrogance. That little overreaction you brushed off? It becomes a meltdown. That tendency to avoid hard conversations? It becomes betrayal. Greene says, believe the patterns. So how do you assess character early? Start by watching how people handle stress. Pressure doesn't create character. It reveals it. When plans fall apart, do they blame others? Do they get defensive? Do they shut down? Or do they step up, stay steady, take responsibility? Next, look at long-term consistency. Anyone can play nice for a few days. Anyone can impress in short bursts. But watch their history. Do they have a trail of broken relationships? Burnt bridges? Do they constantly shift roles, jobs, identities? That's not reinvention. That's avoidance. That's instability. Then there's self-awareness. The strongest characters don't pretend to be perfect. They own their flaws. They work on them. If someone gets uncomfortable the moment you give them honest feedback, that's weakness. That's fragility. That's a liability. And let's not forget the little things. How they treat people who can't offer them anything. How they act when nobody's watching. Whether they gossip or stay neutral. These are all silent signals. They don't come with warning labels, but they are loud to anyone who's really watching. Now flip the mirror. Because this chapter isn't just about reading others. It's about confronting your own compulsions. Greene makes it clear. You are not exempt. You have patterns too. Emotional loops. Weak points you default to when things get hard. Maybe you overextend. Maybe you ghost people. Maybe you obsess over control or validation. Maybe you're too rigid, too soft, too self-serving without realizing it. Whatever it is, you can't evolve if you don't name it. Greene pushes you to break that loop. To understand that the only way to build strength of character is through self-discipline, honest reflection, and doing the hard emotional work. Otherwise, your success, whatever it looks like, will collapse under pressure. And no one will say it was bad luck. They'll say you were always like that. They just didn't see it soon enough. So what's the takeaway? Charisma is not character. Talent is not character. Promises are not character. Patterns are character. And if you want to build anything real, business, family, legacy, you better stop judging people by what they show. And start judging them by what they repeat. You don't need to be paranoid. But you do need to be awake. Watch how people move. Track their defaults. Learn the emotional math behind their actions. Because character always leaves a trail. And if you can read it, You'll never be blindsided again. Chapter 5, The Law of Covetousness. Become an elusive object of desire. Desire is irrational. People don't want what's good for them. They don't even want what they need. What people really want is what they can't have. Or better yet, what they think they can't have. It's the illusion, the chase, the mystery. Greene grabs you by the collar in this chapter and says, if you want power, influence, or attention in this world, you better stop being easy to get. Because when you're too available, you're taken for granted. When you reveal too much, you kill the magic. And when you try too hard to please, you become forgettable. The human mind is wired to crave what's just out of reach. And that's not manipulation. It's reality. We assign value to what's rare. And rarity isn't always about numbers. It's about perception. It's about how you position yourself. Greene uses the story of Coco Chanel to drill this in. In a world where women were dressing for men, Chanel flipped the script. She gave women clothes that made them feel powerful, independent, sleek. But she didn't just create fashion. She created desire. She didn't flood the market. She didn't explain herself. She stayed mysterious, selective, sometimes even aloof. And that made her brand magnetic. People didn't just want Chanel clothing. They wanted the essence behind it, the elegance, the freedom, the status. Here's the key takeaway. People don't desire you for who you are. They desire you for what you represent. Your vibe. Your energy. The story they attach to you. And that story gets destroyed the moment you make yourself too predictable. So how do you build this aura of desirability? Step 1. Withdraw just enough. Don't always text back right away. Don't be the one who over-explains. Don't always say yes. Let there be a little silence. A little space. People get hooked when they don't feel in control of you. Step 2. Create contrast. Be unpredictable. Let them think they've figured you out, then pivot. Surprise them. Go deep when they expect shallow. Be silent when they expect loud. Humans are drawn to contrast like moths to flame. It activates curiosity. It keeps the attention from drifting. Step 3. Turn yourself into a symbol. Become more than just a person. Represent something. A mood. A belief. A lifestyle. When people can project their fantasies onto you, you become addictive. You become marketable. You become a brand, not just a name. But there's a warning here. Greene says, don't fall for your own illusion. If you start believing that you're inherently special, just because others desire you, you'll lose the discipline that made you desirable in the first place. You'll get sloppy. You'll seek validation instead of holding frame. And just like that, the magnetism dies. Desire is built on control. On knowing when to reveal and when to pull back. When to give and when to disappear. It's an art. It's a strategy. It's the opposite of emotional neediness. Now let's talk power. If you can make your ideas desirable, your product mysterious, your presence rare, you don't have to chase people. They come to you. And when they come to you, they're already primed to say yes. That's the power of being desired. It flips the script. Puts you in the position of chooser. Not the one begging to be chosen. And the same applies to relationships. If you always make yourself fully available, if you try to win someone by being overly eager, overly kind, overly transparent, you destroy the polarity. You kill attraction. Greene's not saying play games, he's saying respect the dance. Desire isn't about being fake. It's about being intentional. It's about understanding human psychology. It's about building a kind of emotional gravity where people don't just see you, they orbit around you. So ask yourself, where am I being too available? Where am I explaining too much? Where have I killed the mystery that once made me captivating? Then reverse it. Be rare. Be hard to read. Be something they can't scroll past, copy, or categorize. Because when you learn how to shape desire, you stop begging for attention and start owning it. Chapter 6. The Law of Short-Sightedness. Elevate your perspective. Most people can't see past the end of the week. They're reactive, stuck in the now, obsessed with the dopamine hit of short-term wins. They chase what feels urgent, not what truly matters. And Greene doesn't sugarcoat it. This is a mental disease. One that ruins careers, wrecks relationships, and keeps you from building anything with weight. In this chapter, he shows how short-sightedness kills your power. Because when you're ruled by emotions, distractions, and daily noise, you're not thinking. You're surviving. You're stuck in a cycle of reacting. And when you're always reacting, you become easy to manipulate. You make sloppy decisions. You overvalue comfort and underestimate consequences. You keep solving the same problems over and over because you're too distracted to think long enough to solve them permanently. But Greene says there's another way. The most powerful people don't live minute to minute. They don't ride the highs and lows of every tweet, every meeting, every deal. They zoom out. They see time differently. They play the long game. Take the story of President Lyndon B. Johnson, a man who wasn't particularly likable or charismatic. He didn't have JFK's charm. He didn't win with flash. He won because he could see farther. When others were scrambling to win the moment, Johnson was building moves 6 layers deep. He could delay gratification. He could suffer being misunderstood. He could sit in discomfort and wait for the exact moment to strike. That's power. This is what Greene calls elevating your perspective. It means training yourself to see patterns, not moments. To ask, what's the second-order effect of this decision? What does this lead to 5 years from now? It's learning how to slow the mind, filter the noise, and think in terms of decades, not deadlines. But how do you actually do this? Step 1. Detach emotionally. Most of our short-sighted behavior comes from being too caught up in how things feel right now. Anger, fear, ego, impulse. They shrink our thinking. They narrow the frame. Greene says you've got to learn how to pause, to take a breath, to put distance between the stimulus and the response, because only then can you see clearly. Step 2. See through cycles. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. People fall for the same schemes, panic in the same downturns, vote for the same promises. If you can study cycles, economic, emotional, political, you stop being surprised. And when you're not surprised, you're not reactive. You're strategic. Step 3. Anchor to vision. If you don't know where you're going, the present will eat you alive. You'll say yes to everything. You'll chase easy money. You'll take shortcuts. But when you're anchored to a long-term vision, something rooted and unshakable, you start filtering your actions. You stop needing to win today because you're building something that wins over time. Now, Greene makes this brutally clear. People will mock you for thinking long. They'll call you slow, stubborn, out of touch. And that's fine. Because by the time they realize you were right, you'll already be 10 steps ahead. You'll see it in the entrepreneur who skips trends to build infrastructure, in the partner who takes their time to build real trust instead of faking chemistry, in the artist who makes something timeless instead of chasing what's viral. Because while others are trapped in a loop of short-term feedback, you're playing for legacy. That's the elevation Greene is talking about. And here's the kicker. This isn't about being cold or robotic. It's about developing clarity. It's about learning how to pause before you act, see before you speak, and think before you react. When others are losing their heads, you stay steady. You calculate. You lead. So what do you do now? You start by noticing your impulses. Track them. Question them. When you feel the urge to react, to fire back, to buy, to quit, to post, pause. Ask yourself, is this driven by emotion or by clarity? Does this serve my future or just soothe my ego right now? If it's not aligned with your long-term vision, kill it. Because your life is either designed by vision or hijacked by emotion. There is no middle ground. Elevate. Zoom out. Build beyond the moment. Chapter 7. The Law of Defensiveness. Soften people's resistance. People don't like to be told what to do. Even if it's right. Even if it's smart. Even if it's going to save them time, pain, or money. The moment you come off as too direct, too pushy, too I know better, walls go up. Greene calls this the natural defensive shell, and every human being has it. You may think you're being helpful, but if you're triggering someone's ego, pride, fear, or insecurity, they're not hearing you. They're preparing to protect themselves. Because to them, your advice feels like an attack. And this is the trap most people fall into, thinking logic wins. Thinking facts change minds. Thinking that if you're loud enough, people will listen. But power doesn't come from volume. Comes from subtlety. From reading the room. From moving like water around people's defenses. That's what this chapter is about. Robert Greene brings in the story of Franklin D. Roosevelt. The guy wasn't just a master of policy. He was a master of people's egos. During World War II, Roosevelt had to juggle generals, politicians, CEOs, and foreign leaders. each with massive pride, agendas, and fragile emotional armor. But Roosevelt didn't argue. He didn't challenge. He didn't try to dominate the room. He used charm, warmth, suggestion. He made people feel like it was their idea. And in doing so, he got what he wanted without the fight. He disarmed resistance without setting off alarms. That's what you have to do. Greene calls it the indirect approach. It's learning how to influence by suggestion, not force. By emotion, not logic. By planting ideas, not imposing them. So how do you pull it off? Step 1. Validate before you redirect. People don't want to feel wrong. So even if you disagree, start by validating something. Their emotion, their concern, their experience. Make them feel seen. That softens the tension. That makes them willing to hear the next thing. Step 2. Use questions, not commands. Telling someone what to do creates pushback. But asking questions sparks introspection. It flips the dynamic. Suddenly, they're coming to the conclusion on their own, and that makes the idea stick. Because it feels like theirs. Step 3. Be relatable, not superior. Nobody listens to the person on the pedestal. They listen to the one who feels like them. Drop the status. Speak in stories. Use examples they understand. Be human. Be vulnerable. That lowers defenses faster than any argument. Step 4. Mirror their pace. If someone is tense, you don't force calm, you match energy, then gradually lead them to a calmer state. If someone is skeptical, don't rush clarity. Let them sit in it. Show patience. Let it be their process. Power is often in the pause. Now here's the deeper game. Greene warns that every person is guarding a wound. It might be fear of irrelevance. It might be rejection. It might be shame. You don't need to know exactly what it is, but you better assume it's there. Because the second you push too hard, you poke the wound. And once that defense is up, it's almost impossible to bring it down. The goal is never to beat someone in a conversation. The goal is to get under the guard. To help people lower it themselves gently, naturally. You're not trying to overpower. You're aiming to slip in through the cracks like air. Like light. Like warmth. Because when people feel safe, they open. When people feel heard, they listen. And when people feel respected, they follow. You don't get there by dominating. You get there by understanding. So take a hard look at how you communicate. Do you bulldoze? Do you push too soon? Do you try to win the exchange? If so, pull back. Lead with empathy. Use suggestion. Guide gently. Influence from the side, not the front. Because the true masters don't force anything. They create space for movement. And in that space, people willingly walk through the doors you've quietly left open. Chapter 8. The Law of Self-Sabotage. Change your circumstances by changing your self-image. It's not always bad luck. It's not always the system. It's not always them. Sometimes, most times, it's you. And not even the conscious you. It's the version of you hidden underneath. The one that makes decisions in the shadows. The one that's been shaped by wounds, fears, and beliefs you haven't dared to confront. Robert Greene doesn't tiptoe around this. He throws it on the table. Your self-image shapes your reality. Period. And that image, it's not always accurate. In fact, it's usually broken, distorted, cracked. But instead of fixing it, most people just live out the consequences, repeating the same patterns, blaming the same things, and wondering why nothing changes. This is the law of self-sabotage. And it's vicious because it's invisible. You can be smart, talented, ambitious, but if deep down you don't believe you deserve more, you'll find a way to wreck it. You'll delay. You'll undercharge. You'll pick the wrong people. You'll self-destruct right before the breakthrough. Why? Because your self-image won't let you accept what doesn't match it. Greene breaks this down with the story of Howard Hughes, a man of brilliance, wealth, and obsession. But underneath all the genius was a deeply fractured identity. His paranoia, his isolation, his decline, it wasn't fate. It was internal decay. The world saw power. He saw fragility. And slowly, his inner world tore the outer one apart. You and I were no different. We might not crash planes or buy media empires, but we do it in quieter ways. The job we don't apply for. The healthy relationship we ruin. The project we half finish. The apology we avoid. The risk we overthink. And it's not about discipline. It's not about knowledge. It's about who you think you are. So here's the brutal truth Greene lays down. Until you fix the image, you will keep repeating the pattern. Now let's talk solutions. Step 1. Dig into the script. Every person carries a silent story, shaped in childhood, cemented through trauma, and rehearsed with repetition. I'm not enough. I always mess things up. No one listens to me. Greene says this internal script drives most of our actions. So identify it, hear it, write it down, drag it into the light. Step 2. Observe the trigger moments. When do you retreat? When do you lash out? When do you sabotage? Trace it back. What's being threatened? Your competence, your value, your worthiness? Spot the pattern, because once you see it, you can break it. Step 3. Rewrite the role. Don't wait for someone to rescue you. Don't wait for validation. Greene challenges you to act as if. Not fake confidence, but to deliberately shape a new identity through action. If your self-image says you're not a leader, start leading. If it says you're not lovable, start showing love. You can't think your way into a new self, you have to move your way into it. Step 4. Surround yourself with mirrors that reflect your growth. Too many people stay locked in old roles because they're surrounded by people who benefit from their weakness. Greene says upgrade your circle. Be around people who see your evolution and support it. Or at the very least, don't sabotage it. And finally, stop negotiating with your old self. That voice will always be there. Doubting, whispering, warning you not to change. Greene says acknowledge it but don't obey it. You're not that scared kid anymore. You're not the failure from 5 years ago. You're not the label they gave you. That version of you might have written the first few chapters. But you get to decide how the story ends. This law hurts, because it calls you out. But it's also liberating, because it gives the power back to you. No more waiting. No more blaming. You want a different life? Build a different identity. Chapter 9. The Law of Repression. Confront your dark side. There's a version of you don't show anyone. You keep it tucked away under control, masked by smiles, politeness, ambition, and professionalism. You're not even lying. You've just been trained to bury certain parts of yourself. But here's the catch. Whatever you repress eventually leaks out. That's what this chapter is about. Robert Greene calls it the dark side, and not the evil, villainous kind. This isn't about becoming Darth Vader. It's about acknowledging the very real, very human emotions you've been conditioned to suppress. Anger, envy, aggression, lust, rage, pettiness, cruelty. You've got them. I've got them. We all do. But society teaches us to package ourselves, to be nice, agreeable, presentable. So we push the rest down. And for a while it works. Until it doesn't. That's when it comes out sideways. In passive aggression. In sudden outbursts. In depression. In addiction. In sabotaging the people we love or ourselves. And then we say, I don't know what came over me. But Greene says you do know. You just refuse to look. He tells the story of Richard Nixon. Not just the politician, but the man haunted by insecurities, envy, and deep self-loathing. Nixon didn't own his darkness. He projected it. Onto the press. Onto his enemies. Onto his own staff. He saw conspiracies because he was the one plotting. And in the end it destroyed him. That's what happens when you repress instead of confront. Greene is ruthless with this lesson. You are not just the curated version of yourself. You are also the parts you're ashamed of. And the longer you deny them, the more control they have. So what do? Step 1. Be honest about what's in the basement. Stop pretending you're above it. Admit the jealousy, the competitiveness, the desire to win, to dominate, to tear others down when you feel small. It's not shameful. It's human. The danger is pretending it's not there. Step 2. Bring it to the surface safely. Find healthy ways to express what's buried. Anger? Channel it into your workouts, your art, your ambition. Envy? Let it push you to elevate your own game, not drag others down. Power doesn't come from pretending. It comes from transmuting those darker drives into something useful. Step 3. Observe your projections. Greene says when something triggers you, really triggers you, there's a good chance it's reflecting something you've disowned. The arrogance that annoys you? The neediness that disgusts you? It might be the mirror you're refusing to look into. Step 4. Practice radical ownership. Don't blame your moods, don't scapegoat others, don't excuse your behavior as just stress. Track it, trace it, own it. When you can say, that was me, that was my fear, my pride, my shadow, you start reclaiming power. And finally, accept that wholeness is messy. You are light and dark. You are saint and sinner. You are noble and petty. That's not a weakness, that's a full human being. The strongest people aren't the ones who deny their flaws. They're the ones who've met their monsters and made peace. Greene's warning is clear. If you don't deal with the dark side consciously, it will deal with you unconsciously. And it won't ask for permission. You don't need to fear the shadow. You need to face it. That's where transformation begins. Because the person who owns their darkness can't be manipulated by it. They don't lash out. They don't implode. They rise above the internal chaos because they've looked it dead in the eye. That's strength. That's maturity. That's power. Chapter 10, The Law of Envy. Beware the fragile ego. Envy. It's a poison. A silent poison that creeps in unnoticed, eating away at relationships, ambitions, and self-worth. It's one of the most dangerous forces in human nature. And yet, it's rarely talked about openly. People don't want to admit they're envious. They want to believe they're better, stronger, more deserving. But envy doesn't care about your self-image. It's always there, lurking beneath the surface, ready to twist your mind. Robert Greene pulls no punches. Envy is everywhere. In every office, every friendship, every family. It lives in the cracks, waiting to crack people wide open. The envious person doesn't just want what you have, they want to see you lose it. They want to drag you down to their level because it's easier to feel better that way. Envy is fragile ego's weapon. And fragile egos? They're everywhere too. The problem is envy isn't always obvious. It wears disguises, criticism, backhanded compliments, gossip, passive aggression, even silence. It's the friend who never celebrates your wins, the colleague who undermines your work in subtle ways, the family member who's always joking, but cutting you down at the same time. Greene offers a chilling example. Think of the Greek myth of the jealous gods. They punished mortals not because the mortals were evil, but because the gods themselves couldn't bear others' greatness. It's the same dynamic today. People can't handle your success because it threatens their fragile sense of self. But here's the twist Greene emphasizes. Envy isn't just external. You've got it too. Yes, you. No matter how secure you think you are, envy lurks inside, waiting to poison your mind if you're not careful. So what's the answer? Step 1. Recognize envy when it appears, both outside and inside yourself. Don't dismiss that sneaky bitterness or the urge to compare. Naming envy takes away some of its power. Step 2. Don't give envy power over your decisions. Greene warns against letting envy drive you to sabotage others or make reckless choices to keep up or one-up someone else. That's a losing game. Step 3. Use envy as a tool for self-awareness. Instead of resenting others, ask yourself, what exactly are you envious of? Is it their confidence? Their freedom? Their recognition? Greene says this clarity can reveal what you really want and what you need to work on in yourself. Step 4. Practice humility and gratitude. The more you appreciate your own journey and successes, no matter how small, the less vulnerable you become to envy's sting. When you celebrate others without comparing, you disarm envy's grip. Step 5. Watch out for envious people in your circle. Greene advises maintaining emotional distance from those who constantly belittle or undermine you. They are like emotional vampires, draining your energy and focus. Finally, Greene stresses, envy can destroy careers, friendships, families. It's subtle, insidious, but lethal if unchecked. The strongest people don't ignore envy. They understand it, master it, and use it to fuel their own growth. In a world built on fragile egos and hidden resentments, mastering the law of envy isn't optional. It's essential. Because when you learn to see envy clearly, you can rise above the petty battles and focus on what truly matters, your own path. Chapter 11, The Law of Grandiosity, The Seduction of Overconfidence. Confidence is a magnet. It draws people in, opens doors, and fuels success. But there's a dangerous twin lurking in the shadows, grandiosity. The seductive overconfidence that makes you believe you're invincible, infallible, and destined for greatness, without grounding in reality. Robert Greene shows us that grandiosity is a human trap. It starts small, a little extra pride here, a bold assumption there. But if you don't check it, it grows. It blinds you to your weaknesses, fuels reckless decisions, and alienates those around you. The higher you rise on grandiosity's wings, the harder the fall. Think of great leaders, CEOs, even celebrities who crash spectacularly. They didn't fail because they lacked talent. They failed because they lost touch with reality. They started believing their own hype, thinking the rules didn't apply to them. Greene points to Napoleon, whose overwhelming belief in his destiny pushed him into catastrophic wars. Or Howard Hughes, whose grandiosity fed paranoia and self-destruction. This isn't just about history's giants. We all have moments when our ego whispers, "You're the exception." And the danger is that whisper can drown out the voice of caution and reason. Greene breaks down how to recognize and guard against grandiosity. Step 1. Practice ruthless self-awareness. Don't let flattery or success inflate your self-image unchecked. Regularly question your assumptions and seek honest feedback, even if it stings. The moment you start thinking you're too big to fail is the moment to pause. Step 2. Watch your impulses to overreach. Grandiosity pushes people to take unnecessary risks or make bold moves without preparation. Greene warns, slow down, do your homework, and don't confuse ambition with wisdom. Step 3. Stay connected to reality by surrounding yourself with truth-tellers. People who challenge your ideas respectfully, who keep you grounded when your ego tries to take flight. This isn't weakness, it's strategic humility. Step 4. Balance confidence with humility. Confidence fuels action. Humility fuels learning. Together, they create sustainable growth. Grandiosity flips the balance, favoring pride over progress. Step 5. Remember your limits. You are powerful, but you're not omnipotent. Recognize the boundaries of your influence, knowledge, and energy. Greene emphasizes that true power comes from embracing your humanity, not pretending to be a god. Finally, Greene offers a stark warning. Grandiosity doesn't just hurt you. It can destroy your relationships, your reputation, and your legacy. The fall from hubris is brutal because it's avoidable. The antidote? Stay humble. Stay hungry. Stay aware. Keep your feet on the ground, your eyes open, and your ego in check. Because the seduction of overconfidence is one of the deadliest laws of human nature. Master it, and you walk the razor's edge between greatness and ruin. Chapter 12. The Law of Gender Rigidity. Embrace your fluid nature. Humans love to put everything into neat boxes. Male and female. Strong and weak. Logical and emotional. Left brain and right brain. We cling to these labels as if they were carved in stone, but Robert Greene reveals a more complex truth. Gender is fluid, and the qualities we associate with masculine and feminine exist in everyone. This chapter pulls apart the rigid ideas that trap us. It shows how clinging to stereotypes limits your potential and clouds your understanding of yourself and others. Greene urges you to break free from these mental prisons and embrace your full spectrum of human nature. He explains that traditionally, society has valued masculine traits like assertiveness, dominance, and logic, especially in public and professional spheres, while casting feminine traits like empathy, intuition, and emotional sensitivity into the shadows. But real power comes from balancing both. When you allow yourself to tap into your feminine side, you unlock creativity, emotional intelligence, and the ability to connect deeply. When you allow your masculine side room to express, you bring focus, drive, and decisiveness. The magic happens when these energies dance together inside you. Greene points to historical figures who embodied this balance. Think of Leonardo da Vinci, an artist, inventor, scientist, who blended intuition and logic seamlessly. Or Queen Elizabeth I, whose reign was marked by a combination of toughness and charm, ruthlessness and grace. But rigid gender roles don't just limit individuals, they poison relationships, workplaces, and society at large. Greene explains how conflict often arises when people expect others to conform to narrow roles instead of embracing their true nature. So how do you embrace your fluid nature? Step 1. Observe where you've been boxed in. Are you repressing feelings because real men don't cry? Are you suppressing ambition because it feels unfeminine? Recognize those cultural chains. Step 2. Experiment with expressing traits traditionally assigned to the other gender. Let yourself be vulnerable, intuitive, and nurturing if you've been tough and logical. Or take charge, be assertive, and think strategically if you've been more passive or accommodating. Step 3. Notice the benefits. Emotional openness builds trust. Strategic thinking moves projects forward. Neither makes you less you. It makes you more whole. Step 4. Accept that fluidity is a strength, not a contradiction. Greene warns against the trap of oversimplification. You're not too much or not enough. You're a complex, evolving being. Step 5. Apply this awareness in how you relate to others. Stop forcing people into rigid roles. Appreciate the complexity in your partners, colleagues, friends. It creates empathy and harmony. Greene leaves you with a powerful message. Embracing your full nature is a radical act of freedom. It frees you from the prison of outdated stereotypes and unlocks a deeper, richer way of living. The lesson is clear. Don't settle for half a self. Embrace all the colors, energies, and contradictions inside you. That's where true power and authenticity live. Chapter 13, The Law of Aimlessness. Discover your life's purpose. Wandering through life without a clear sense of direction is one of the fastest ways to drain your energy and crush your spirit. Robert Greene hits hard with this truth. Aimlessness is a silent killer of ambition, motivation, and fulfillment. Without purpose, your actions become shallow, your days blur together, and your potential stays locked away. The world is filled with people stuck in this fog, drifting from task to task, job to job, relationship to relationship, never really feeling connected to anything bigger than the immediate moment. Greene calls this the law of aimlessness. It's easy to fall into because modern life bombards you with distractions, obligations, and external pressures that pull you away from your true north. But here's the catch. Humans crave purpose. Purpose fuels passion. It sharpens focus. It turns ordinary effort into extraordinary results. Greene argues that discovering your life's purpose isn't a luxury. It's a necessity for mental health and lasting success. But purpose is rarely handed to you on a silver platter. It requires digging deep, asking tough questions, and facing uncomfortable truths about what really drives you. He explains that purpose often hides beneath layers of conditioning, family expectations, social norms, fear of failure. To find it, you must strip away these masks and get brutally honest with yourself. Step 1. Reflect on moments when you felt truly alive, energized, and absorbed. What were you doing? Who were you with? What themes emerge? Step 2. Identify your core values and passions. What do you deeply care about? What injustices or problems stir your blood? Greene says these are the compass points guiding you toward purpose. Step 3. Consider your unique strengths and talents. Purpose often lies at the intersection of what you love and what you're good at. Step 4. Craft a clear personal mission statement. Write it down, say it aloud, live by it. Greene stresses this acts like a gravitational force, pulling your actions and decisions into alignment. Step 5. Guard your purpose fiercely against distractions and negativity. Aimlessness creeps in when you let others define your goals, or when you lose sight of your mission. Greene also warns of two common traps. The first is settling for external definitions of success, money, status, approval that leave you hollow inside. The second is confusing busyness with purpose. Just because you're moving doesn't mean you're going anywhere meaningful. Ultimately, Greene invites you to commit to a lifetime quest, to awaken your inner compass, to live with fierce intention, and to become the master of your own destiny. Because when you have a clear purpose, the noise fades away, obstacles become challenges, and every step you take charges your life with meaning. Chapter 14, The Law of Conformity. Resist the pull of the group. Humans are social creatures wired to belong. It's a survival instinct hardwired deep in our brains. We crave acceptance, approval, and connection. But Robert Greene warns this powerful drive also makes us dangerously vulnerable to conformity, the tendency to adopt the beliefs, behaviors, and opinions of the group, even when they conflict with our own truth. Conformity is the silent force that shapes societies, cultures, and individuals. It's the reason why people follow trends without question, buy products just because everyone else does, or vote for popular candidates even if they don't align with their values. The pull of the group is magnetic, and most people surrender to it because the cost of rejection feels too high. Greene exposes conformity as one of the greatest threats to individuality and independent thinking. When you conform blindly, you give away your power. You become a cog in the machine, losing your unique voice and vision. The challenge? The group isn't always right. Sometimes it's toxic. Sometimes it's wrong. And sometimes it's simply complacent, afraid to challenge the status quo. Greene teaches that resisting conformity requires courage and self-awareness. It means learning to listen to your own inner voice and values, even when they make you unpopular or isolated. It means embracing your authenticity, even when it feels lonely. Step 1. Recognize when you're conforming out of fear rather than conviction. Notice moments when you say yes because you want to fit in, or when you suppress your opinions to avoid conflict. Step 2. Cultivate critical thinking. Question popular beliefs and social norms. Test ideas against your own experience and logic. Step 3. Build a strong sense of self. The more confident and secure you are in your identity, the less you'll feel the need to conform. Step 4. Surround yourself with diverse perspectives. Greene argues that true growth comes from engaging with people who challenge your views, not those who echo them. Step 5. Accept the social cost of nonconformity. Sometimes standing apart means facing criticism, rejection, or ridicule. Greene reminds you that true leaders and innovators have always paid this price. But resisting conformity isn't about being a contrarian for the sake of it. It's about aligning your actions with your true values and purpose. It's about being brave enough to be yourself in a world that constantly tries to shape you. Greene closes this chapter with a powerful thought. Freedom begins where conformity ends. When you break free from the group's pull, you unlock your creative potential, your original ideas, and your true power. And that's where real influence is born. Chapter 15. The Law of Fickleness. Understand the unpredictable human mind. Humans are notoriously unpredictable. One moment we adore someone or something, the next we turn cold or indifferent. Robert Greene calls this the law of fickleness, the natural tendency for people's emotions, loyalties, and interests to shift rapidly and often without clear reason. Understanding this volatility is crucial if you want to navigate relationships and influence others effectively. Greene explains that fickleness is not a flaw or weakness. It's an inherent part of human nature rooted in our emotional wiring and constantly changing circumstances. People's feelings can change like the weather, influenced by moods, social pressures, or new information. This makes trust, loyalty, and influence fragile and constantly needing nurturing. This chapter is a deep dive into why people can be so flighty and how you can adapt rather than resist this reality. The first step, Greene says, is acceptance. Stop expecting others to be steadfast and consistent at all times. When you anticipate change, you're less likely to be caught off guard or betrayed. Second, observe the signs. People give off subtle cues when their feelings begin to shift: hesitation, disengagement, or new alliances. Greene urges us to read these signals early before they become full-blown problems. Third, build emotional resilience. Don't take fickleness personally. People's changes often reflect their inner turmoil or external pressures, not your worth or effort. Greene emphasizes emotional detachment without coldness. Care deeply but don't depend emotionally. Fourth, keep your influence fresh. Greene warns that relationships, whether personal or professional, require constant attention and adaptation. Relying on past goodwill alone won't keep people loyal. You have to renew trust, offer value, and engage consistently. Fifth, anticipate and prepare for shifts. Have backup plans and don't put all your eggs in one basket. In business and life, expect some allies to drift away and some alliances to bloom unexpectedly. Greene also explores how fickleness plays out in crowds and societies. Public opinion is famously volatile, driven by emotions, rumors, and changing trends. Mastering this means staying alert to the collective mood and adjusting your strategy quickly. The key takeaway is that human loyalty and interest are like flames in the wind, flickering and unpredictable, but not impossible to manage. By understanding and embracing the law of fickleness, you gain an edge. You stop being blindsided, you adapt fluidly, and you become a steady force amid the chaos. Chapter 16. The Law of Aggression. Channel your hostility wisely. Aggression is one of the most primal forces driving human behavior. It's often misunderstood and feared, yet Robert Greene reveals it as a powerful energy that, when harnessed correctly, can fuel success and protect your interests. The law of aggression teaches that aggression is neither good nor bad. It's a tool. How you use it makes all the difference. Greene starts by acknowledging the raw power of aggressive impulses. They can emerge as anger, competitiveness, or even a quiet, burning ambition. This energy can push you to fight for what you want, break through obstacles, and assert yourself in a crowded world. But if left unchecked or misdirected, aggression becomes destructive, leading to conflict, ruin, and loss of respect. The key is learning to channel your hostility wisely. First, Greene emphasizes self-awareness. Recognize when aggression rises inside you. Instead of denying or exploding, understand its source. Is it fear? Injustice? Desire? Awareness lets you control the flame rather than be consumed by it. Second, transform aggression into focused action. Use it as fuel to pursue goals with intensity, to negotiate firmly, or to stand your ground without resorting to needless hostility. Controlled aggression is strategic and deliberate. Third, beware of passive aggression or indirect hostility, which Greene warns can poison relationships and environments. Open, honest expression, even when assertive, is healthier and more effective. Fourth, know your limits and your opponents. Greene advises reading the situation carefully. Sometimes aggression must be restrained. Other times it must be unleashed fully. The wise use aggression like a skilled warrior, choosing the right moment and the right target. Fifth, channel aggression into creativity and leadership. Greene points out that many great leaders, artists, and innovators harness their inner fire to break new ground and inspire others. He also discusses the dark side. Unchecked aggression breeds paranoia, alienates allies, and invites retaliation. The goal is mastery, not suppression or explosion. Finally, Greene reminds you to guard against external aggression. Defend yourself strategically, disarm hostility with calm confidence, and turn aggression directed at you into opportunities for growth or advantage. The takeaway is clear. Aggression is a double-edged sword. When you master it, it becomes a force of progress and protection. When you don't, it can destroy everything you've built. Harness your inner fire wisely. Let it drive you forward without burning bridges behind you. Chapter 17. The Law of Generational Myopia. Understand the biases of your era. Every generation is shaped by its own unique historical, social, and cultural forces. These forces create a lens through which people see the world, a lens that often distorts reality without them realizing it. Robert Greene calls this the law of generational myopia, the tendency to view life only through the narrow experiences and assumptions of your own generation, blinding you to broader truths. This chapter digs into how generational biases influence our thinking, values, and behavior, and how they can limit personal growth and understanding of others. Greene points out that every generation believes it's at the center of history, often dismissing past lessons and future possibilities. This creates blind spots. For example, older generations may resist new ideas, while younger generations may reject tradition outright without understanding its roots. The challenge is to recognize these biases and step outside your generational bubble. First, Greene advises you to study history. Not just the parts that flatter your worldview, but the uncomfortable parts too. Understanding the struggles, triumphs, and mistakes of previous generations provides perspective and wisdom. Second, listen actively to people of different ages. Seek out diverse viewpoints. You'll find that generational differences are often less about conflict and more about misunderstandings. Third, beware of stereotyping. Greene warns against dismissing others based on their age group. Instead, look for the individual stories beneath the generational label. Fourth, be aware of how your generation's prevailing narratives shape your choices, politics, and relationships. Question these narratives regularly. Are they serving your growth or limiting it? Fifth, cultivate empathy. Greene argues that understanding the fears, hopes, and values of other generations enriches your ability to connect and collaborate. Ultimately, the law of generational myopia teaches that freedom and wisdom come from expanding your vision beyond your own era. By doing so, you break the chains of limited thinking, adapt better to change, and build bridges across divides. Chapter 18. The Law of Death Denial. Embrace your mortality to live fully. Most people live in denial of their own mortality. It's a natural defense mechanism. Death is uncomfortable, scary, and final. Yet, Robert Greene argues that this denial clouds our judgment and limits how fully we live. The law of death denial reveals how confronting and accepting death is key to gaining clarity, purpose, and emotional freedom. Greene opens by explaining that throughout history, humans have developed countless ways to avoid thinking about death: religion, distractions, fantasies of immortality. While these offer comfort, they often come at a cost: procrastination, fear of risk, and an inability to embrace the present moment. The core message is simple. Facing death head-on is one of the most liberating acts you can do. When you accept that your time is limited, your priorities sharpen. What once seemed trivial fades, and what truly matters comes into focus. Greene urges you to practice a kind of memento mori, a constant awareness of mortality. This awareness fuels urgency and motivates action. It pushes you to seek meaningful work, deepen relationships, and shed superficial concerns. Moreover, embracing death dissolves fear. When you no longer fear the inevitable, you become braver in life. You're willing to take risks, speak your truth, and live authentically. Greene also discusses how death denial fuels toxic behaviors: obsession with status, materialism, and denial of change. These attempts to achieve symbolic immortality often trap people in endless cycles of dissatisfaction. By contrast, those who integrate death into their worldview develop humility and wisdom. They recognize the fleeting nature of power and success and value legacy over fleeting gain. In practical terms, Greene encourages daily reflection on mortality, imagining your own death to gain perspective. He also highlights the importance of rituals and philosophies that reconnect you to this reality. Ultimately, the law of death denial teaches that accepting death frees you to live with passion, clarity, and purpose. It's not morbid. It's the foundation of a deeply fulfilling life.